What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another edition of the Call Up Podcast. It's your boy Kenny. We're talking King of the Ring this week. There is no AEW Dynamite, so normally here on at this time we will talk a little bit of Dynamite, talk a little bit of Monday Night Raw and NXT 2.0, but I wanted to change it up a little bit this time. And I wanted to talk about the history of the King of the Ring. The King of the Ring is making his return this year, and we're looking to see who will be crowned King of the Ring. A lot of people are pulling for Kofi Kingston. Well, they were pulling for Kofi Kingston this time around, but now we're pulling for Xavier Woods. And we're going to hopefully see a new winner. Hopefully that man will be Xavier Woods. We have a good lineup of people, but I wanted to touch base on the history of King of the Ring. I just wanted to get people more familiarized. I know a lot of people, especially with the COVID era, started watching wrestling, and a lot of people haven't seen what King of the Ring is. So I wanted to go back and look at the history and just see what transpired throughout the years of King of the Ring, and look at some past winners and what did they achieve in their career after winning King of the Ring. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. It's a good time. If you guys are in the chat, by all means, leave a comment down below. If you're watching this later on, leave a comment in the chat as well. And if you're watching on Instagram right now, because I'm on Instagram live right now, letting people know to go to my link in the bio and go to the YouTube channel and check out this brand new episode and interact with me. We want to talk. I want to get your opinions on who is the best King of the Ring winner. Where do they rank in your opinion? And what are some of the best moments of the King of the Ring? We are live right now on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitter. This show is sponsored by Ringside Collectibles, your number one source for ringside for new figures that you want to check out. We have some people coming into the chat right now looking at the show. Thank you very much for attending this. But without further ado, I am going to get off of Instagram live right now. If you're listening to this recording, by all means, please follow me on Instagram at The Call Up, and we can get talking a little bit more about King of the Ring. So King of the Ring started as a unique tournament that they wanted to get some people in here. Cap says Macho Man is the best. We're going to get into Macho Man right now, his reign as King of the Ring champion. But yeah, so King of the Ring started off as a unique tournament that was going to introduce 16 men and see where they were going to be in this tournament. It either was going to catapult your career, or it was going to give you a brand new gimmick. We've actually seen a lot of people use this King of the Ring gimmick to their advantage and actually elevate their career. Some have stepped into this career and made something of themselves, as we'll go down the line. But let's dive right into it. So doing some research. So King of the Ring started in 1985. It was not televised at the time. It was simply just a show that you would have during house shows, and it wasn't really televised and made into a pay-per-view until 1993. And we'll get into that a little bit more. This tournament has changed throughout the years. Sometimes in the beginning, it was 16 men that would go into this tournament. Then it changed to 15. There was a time where it went to 8. And there is only one King of the Ring, which we'll get into, which had 32 men competing to be king. The first winner of the King of the Ring was in 1985, and that was Don Muraco. Don Muraco, as you can see here in the photo, he was the first King of the Ring winner. It wasn't the best tournament from looking back at the past when they had their previous recordings of me going back to this. Don Muraco held this title for a good year. He had defeated the Iron Sheik, who was WWF champion at the time, but he had lost it to Hulk Hogan. So he was trying to get a comeback. And by being in the King of the Ring, he was hoping to get to that point again. But Don Muraco ended up being crown king, but he really didn't use this to his advantage going into his career. He ended up still being a mid-card type guy all the way into his run with WWF was over, and he had to moving on. Going back into the tournament, we end up going back into another year, which was 1986, and we end up getting a new winner crowned in, and that is somebody by the name of, if I can just get to it, Harley Race. Everybody knows who Harley Race is. Harley Race was well known in NWA and all around New Japan, but going into WWF, a lot of WWF fans did not know who Harley Race was, so this was a good way to get the fans more familiarized with Harley Race, and he ended up winning the King of the Ring in 1986. Bobby the Brain Heenan was the one who named him King Harley Race, King Handsome Harley Race. And one good thing that I liked about this, just reading on the history of King of the Ring, was that a lot of his opponents had to kneel down to him, which is the best heel move you could possibly think of. And if anybody did not kneel before King Harley Race, they would definitely get a beating and would have to kiss his feet. He went on to use this gimmick to further his career. Anybody who is a big figure collector knows that King Harley Race Elite goes for a pretty penny. This is one Elite that it's so hard to find that when you get your hands on it, you're either going to open it, leave it MOC, or you're going to sit there and say to yourself, I'm just going to sell this for a lot of money. So I want to get into some chats here. I have one person right now from Pro Wrestling Podcast saying King of the Ring was probably the prodigy to have gimmicks names for pay-per-views, huh? You know what? It might have been that. I'm not too sure, but this was something that they wanted to help a lot of superstars elevate their character, maybe take on the King gimmick. And just see exactly where their career will go from there, as we'll go through the years and see what happened to each winner and what exactly did they do with their career going in. So we end up going back to 1987. We end up getting a new winner for the King of the Ring in the form of Macho Man Randy Savage. But the crazy thing about this, going back and looking at Macho Man's win of the King of the Ring, he didn't take on this gimmick of King Macho Man for a good couple of years. No one knows why. He just kept doing his regular Macho Man Randy Savage gimmick. And it wasn't until 1989 where he donned the name of Macho King, which I'll get into that a little bit more. You can know exactly why he got into that gimmick. But a crazy thing going into this was, prior to this in 1987, King Harley Race had to drop his crown due to injury. He ended up giving his crown to Haku, and that's why we end up getting the gimmick of King Haku. King Haku ended up fighting Hacksaw Jim Duggan, losing to Hacksaw Jim Duggan, which now Hacksaw had the crown. That went on to Macho Man, and then now we end up getting Macho Man being crowned King of the Ring one more time in 1989. But before then, they still had another King of the Ring tournament, which gave us a brand new star in the form of the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Ted DiBiase was already a made guy. He already had a gimmick with him. He was a rich man, and he already knew that what he wanted to do. I am skipping over these things. I had all this up here. So that is Macho Man and his gimmick of Macho King at the time. And then we're going to move on to, like I was saying, Ted DiBiase. I'm a little tongue-tied here, trying to focus and trying to get everything situated. So I think I'm just not going to look at the chats right now and just focus on the story at hand. So Ted DiBiase ended up winning King of the Ring in 1988, but he did not do anything with this gimmick at all. He continued to play his rich man persona, and then he ended up giving his scepter and crown to Macho Man, and we end up getting Macho King, which anybody knows, going back to this previous picture, Macho Man being Macho King was one of the best gimmicks that we've seen growing up as a child. Him and Sensational Sherry tearing through WWF at the time, and it just elevated his character even more and made him even more popular with the fans. Moving on to let's go right here to 1989. Now, going into this tournament was pretty unique looking into this because at the time Tito Santana was a part of a tag team called Strike Force with Rick Martel, but they end up going in and having a little bit of feud there. And what's crazy about this particular one was that they end up meeting each other in the finals. So Tito Santana and Rick Martel battled it out to see who was going to become king of the ring. Tito Santana ended up winning that battle. WWF at the time tried to prolong this feud and make it even longer, but it just fell lackluster. Just looking back at it, you can tell that they really didn't put too much emphasis into this this feud, and it just kind of died down. The fans didn't like it too much, and that kind of just went away for Tito Santana. Winging King in the Ring really didn't even help his career down the line. He ended up, still being a really great Intercontinental Champion, but that is pretty much all he is known for. 1990, for some reason, there was no King of the Ring. They kind of took a break from it. They said, you know what? I guess they wanted to take a break after Tito had won. They wanted to revamp King of the Ring and maybe go back to it. So in 1991, we end up getting back King of the Ring, and we end up seeing a man who is proclaimed as the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be in the man they call Bret Hart. Now, what's unique about Bret Hart and his title win of being King of the Ring, he is the only man in King of the Ring history to be a two-time King of the Ring winner. In 1991, he ended up winning the King of the Ring tournament. And then they took a break in 92. And then in 93, they ended up coming back again, and Bret Hart was once again going into this tournament. But it was a little unique for Bret Hart this time around going into the tournament in 1993 because they told him that he could not use a sharpshooter to win any of his matches. So he went through 3 different matches or 3 different opponents and tried to win his way to be crowned once again King of the Ring. His first match was with Razor Ramon, which was a technical match. He ended up going and winning that one. He ended up going up against Mr. Perfect, and that was another technical match. He ended up winning with a roll-up. And then the last one, which was so hard for him to try and overcome, and that was his last opponent being Bam Bam Bigelow. Now, we all know what Bam Bam Bigelow looked like. 400 pounds of pure muscle. This guy can move in the ring more than any other cruiserweight that you could possibly think of for a big guy. Bret Hart had his work cut out for him. At one point, Luna Vachon ended up hitting Bret Hart. Bam Bam took advantage of it and went for the pin. And for a short period of time, Bam Bam Bigelow was your King of the Ring winner for 1993. But due to Earl Hebner coming out to the ring and reversing the decision and restarting the match, Bret Hart ended up hitting a top rope move and winning King of the Ring and making him a 2-time King of the Ring winner. I'm going to go into the chats here. This is the best match out of all the tournaments. I have to agree, but then there are some other ones that I looked at today, and I was just like, man, you know what? That is a strong contender. Going into 1994, the Hart family continued to take the reins of King of the Ring. And this time we've seen Owen Hart become King of the Ring in 1994. And this time around, Mr. Blackheart himself proclaimed himself King of Hearts and went on to antagonize and trash talk his brother, which led us into a phenomenal cage match at SummerSlam where the two battled it out. This is one of the best matches for me I could think of a brother rivalry between the two was with Owen and Bret at SummerSlam in this cage match. I want to get you guys' opinion. What do you guys think of that cage match between Bret and Owen? Charles Andrews is in the house right now saying pure muscle Bam Bam Bigelow. You got it. You know what? You absolutely right. Bam Bam was a powerhouse. A man way ahead of his time in WWF. I don't think that they really didn't know what to do with him back in the day. And I have more people saying magical, of course. Moving on to 1995, which you can tell they took, well, not really. So 1995, we end up getting King of the Ring one more time. This is one of the worst King of the Ring tournaments so far that a lot of people have said. Even though that they had stars like Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Yokozuna, and I believe one more. I'm trying to think of it. I don't have it at the top of my head here. This is fucked up, but WWF back then believed that Mabel would be your King of the Ring winner. This was an awful tournament looking back at this, and I just had to fast forward through a lot of things that were going there. The only thing, and Charles Andrews sitting here saying that there was a King of the Ring belt that they didn't use for Mabel, which is true. You can actually Google that. I wish I had I wish I would have went and Googled it back. But it is something that you can take a look at. If you can go on my Instagram, you'll see it later on. But going back to King Mabel, this really didn't do anything for his career. You think back, he had a match with Diesel that was awful at SummerSlam. And he just ended up changing gimmick after gimmick until eventually he ended up leaving WWF/WWE in 1996. Now, this right here for me is one of the best King of the Ring moments. And I want to get your opinions in the chat room, letting me know exactly what you think. So in 1996, we've seen the birth of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin he entered this tournament not knowing whether or not he was going to win, because there is a funny thing about this particular tournament where the actual winner of this tournament was supposed to be Triple H, but due to the infamous curtain call at MSG, he was punished, and the decision was overturned that Stone Cold Steve Austin will end up winning the King of the Ring tournament. His last opponent in that tournament would be Jake the Snake Roberts, which he would have easily went with the victory with a Stone Cold Stunner and given us one of his infamous lines that we still say to this day, and selling out one of the most number one shirts in wrestling history besides CM Punk, which is the Stone Cold 316. My whole opinion, and I want to get some people in the chat, you guys let me know what you think. If the curtain call never happened and Triple H would have won King of the Ring, do you think we would have seen Stone Cold Steve Austin, or he would have continued with his old gimmick and we probably would have seen Austin later on down the line? We have the Knucklehead guys here saying he stole it from my boy Jake the Snake. Jake the Snake was a freaking drunk, and he tried to get himself back together. And luckily for us, he did not win this King of the Ring tournament. I can only imagine if he did, and they would have just reversed it and gave it to him instead of Austin, what would have happened. Pro Wrestling Podcast is saying Jake the Snake found God gimmick was the worst and the best thing to happen to WWE. Looking back at this and just looking at Jake's career after he found God, I was kind of just thinking to myself, like, was this really a work type gimmick, or was this just something that he was really trying to do? We've seen the documentaries with Jake the Snake of trying to find himself and getting help from DDP, and just wondering like whether or not he was going to continue in the wrestling business was something to think about. But I really wasn't a fan of his gimmick as, trying to get God into his life in WWF at the time. It was just a lot of things going on, and that's just something that WWF really didn't need at that time. We got toe tags from him. Unless he had a feud with Jake. Remember, he said that because Jake the Snake was God-fearing character. That is true, and that is one reason why I'm kind of glad that he did wrestle Jake the Snake. it was something that was like off the fly for him. We probably wouldn't have ever seen this Austin character if he didn't fight Jake the Snake in that tournament. But I kind of feel that we would have seen the Austin gimmick somewhere down the line if he didn't win King of the Ring. Got some more here saying he played the Jake character well. He named his snake. Okay. Oh, Tyson's in the house. What's going on, Tyson? Glad to see Tyson's here. Tyson is always, in the comments here, letting us know that he's in the building right now. We're talking King of the Ring, talking the history of King of the Ring. Tyson, we're up to 1996, where we end up getting Stone Cold Steve Austin as your new King of the Ring winner, and we all know what happened after that. He had went and surpassed himself as being one of the greatest WWF/WWE champions and gimmicks known around. Everyone still loves Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin is one of my favorite WWF superstars of growing up. We're going to move on to the next year, and that was 1997. And in 1997, finally, Triple H becomes your King of the Ring winner and solidifying himself as one of the top guys in the company. This definitely helped him elevate his career after being crowned King of the Ring. There was some slight confusion whether or not if he was going to continue to be punished because of the things that happened with the curtain call, but obviously upper management in WWF decided that it was enough for him, and then they were going to crown him King of the Ring. This was a unique tournament. There were some incredible matches throughout that. So if anybody wants to go to the Peacock Network, by all means, do so. Check it out and let me know what your favorite winners and matches were. Moving on to 1998, we end up getting Ken Shamrock as our King of the Ring winner. He ended up taking on the man that they call the Brahma Bull, The Rock, and making him submit in a no matter than was like 16 minutes when I was looking at this match. Looking back at this in 1998 for Ken Shamrock, this really didn't do anything for him in his career. He ended up just still winning the IC title and Hardcore. After this, he ended up leaving WWF to pursue more career in MMA. But you can tell through watching a lot of his MMA stuff that he was just not the same man that he was when he first came into WWF, leaving MMA. So a lot of people said in the comments that I was reading were that he should have just stood in WWF and continued to elevate himself as a superstar. We all know what happened to Ken Shamrock after that. He came back for a brief time, ended up leaving once again, going down to Impact Wrestling, TNA, making his names go through the indies. From there, going back to the history of the King of the Ring, we move on to 1999, where we seen the destruction of DX. And looking back at this, you can tell that everybody just wanted to be their own person. Each member of DX were a part of this King of the Ring tournament. But at the end, we end up seeing Mr. Assman himself, Billy Gunn, win the King of the Ring tournament and making himself King Ass. But this, once again, another factor that this did not help him at all by winning this tournament. It was just more of a filler for him. He was a phenomenal tag team champion, but just his solo run was just something that wasn't the best for him. And, he had a good feud with The Rock for a while, but then, obviously The Rock ended up winning that one because he was red hot at the time. And then it was just lackluster after that for him until he ended up leaving WWE and pursuing other stuff in his career. Moving on to the 2000s. We end up getting the man Kurt Angle winning the King of the Ring. This solidified himself as being one of the top guys in the company. It showed his unique ability to wrestle different styles and against different people. Now, something really unique that I look back at looking at this King of the Ring tournament. And like I said in the beginning, there were 16, 15, and 8-man competitors for King of the Ring, but this particular King of the Ring, and this was the only one in 2000, they gave you 32 competitors. Imagine 32 guys. You just want to get this over with. You might want to just have King of the Ring for one night, but then you have to expand this for weeks at a time until you can finally get a winner. But at the end, Kurt Angle was your new King of the Ring for the year 2000. Moving on to 2001, we end up seeing Edge winning the King of the Ring. He ended up fighting Kurt Angle at the end. And wow, looking back at this match, if you haven't seen Edge versus Kurt Angle for the King of the Ring tournament, this is definitely a match you want to go back and see. It was very entertaining. Storyline wise, and throughout the match, the two gave each other everything to solidify themselves as King of the Ring winners. But at the end, Edge ended up winning this tournament. But this is Lay's favorite. Of course, it had to be Lay's favorite. Going back to this one right here, it did drive a wedge between Edge and Christian because Christian ended up being very jealous of Edge winning the King of the Ring tournament, and that ended up leading them to breaking up and having a crazy feud between the two. Back in 2002, we end up getting back again the year of Brock Lesnar. This is when Brock Lesnar came into the company and they wanted to solidify himself as a badass guy. But this was also the year that Stone Cold Steve Austin left, because back then, because they wanted to build Brock Lesnar up, they just decided to have Stone Cold Steve Austin lose to him in the King of the Ring tournament. Stone Cold Steve Austin was not happy about this at all, and he ended up leaving the company right after. After that, once Brock Lesnar solidified himself as King of the Ring winner, 2 months later, he ended up being champion, defeating The Rock for the WWE Undisputed Championship, which is crazy to me as to see how long Brock Lesnar has been in this business and how long he's been champion, and just the things that they wanted to do with this man. Charles Andrews saying that the match they had with Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon was crazy. Of course it was. I thought that, looking back at that, especially you see a lot of the documentaries, you go back and you're just like, wow, like these guys put their bodies through the line just to entertain us, and it's just completely crazy. For a good while, there was no King of the Ring. The last one was back at 2002. So for 2003 to 2006, we had no King of the Ring at all. They didn't give us a reason why. They just said, you know what, we're not going to do it. I don't think fans are going to care. But in 2006, we end up getting the man that was one of my personal favorites as a King of the Ring winner, and that was Booker T, also known as King Booker. This solidified himself to sit there and be one of the best characters in WWE history. Him and his wife were one of the best to look at on SmackDown and on Raw when he had the King Booker gimmick. He even changed his voice to have this accent, and it was amazing. Charles Andrews saying supposedly Vince doesn't really like the tournaments. You know what? I have to probably agree with you, Charles, because of just the way of the like the structure of the tournament, and just the way every year it just kept changing. So like we had one in 2002, and then 2003, 2004, 2005, and 2006 we had no King of the Ring at all. It was just Ruthless Aggression era. Yeah, King, Booker, of course, and Vince doesn't really like anything. You know what? That's the way Vince is getting nowadays. Yes, I'm gonna have to believe that as well. But how great was King Booker at the time? This was something that everyone loved. I think this really worked for him as far as a character wise. And then we end up once again not having a King of the Ring the following year. But in 2008, the King of the Ring returned one more time. They didn't even say anything as to why they didn't um, give us a King of the Ring at all. They just said, fuck it, we're not going to give them it. And then back in 2008, King of the Ring returns once again, and we see William Regal become your King of the Ring winner. Going into the chats here, I says, I have an idea. Let's book our own 2003, 2004, and 2005 King of the Rings. You know what, Charles? I like that idea. I think we definitely need to sit there and book this and book our own 3-year King of the Rings. By all means, get your people together. I get my people together. We get Tyson in here. We get Toe Tags in here. We're going to get Pro Wrestling Podcast in here as well. I'm going to get all you guys in here all at once. Next week, we'll sit here and we'll go over the history of the 2003, 2004, and 2005 King of the Rings and see what everybody picks. So, Charles, I'm going to give you 2003. Toe Tags, I'll give you 2004. And you know what? I'll take 2005. And we'll sit here and go over this and see who had the best tournament, who was the winner, and what did they go on to accomplish in their careers after winning the King of the Ring tournaments. You guys probably hear my kids in the background. They're sitting there playing, not knowing that I'm sitting here recording right now and talking to all you guys. But anyway, once again, King of the Ring took a little hiatus back in 2009. And we did not have a King of the Ring at all. And then we go back to 2010. The King of the Ring tournament is back one more time, I guess, maybe, with seeing Sheamus defeating Johnny Drip Drip, well, Johnny Morrison at the time, to become your King of the Ring winner. Now, this helped Sheamus in a big way in his career because he donned the King Sheamus gimmick for a good while and becoming WWE champion by defeating Daniel Bryan in WrestleMania 18 in like 16 seconds. It was like one of the most horrible wins that I've ever seen on WrestleMania, right next to The Rock defeating the Wyatt family in like the matter of seconds. Everybody's sitting here laughing in the chat because you guys all agree with me. She said, damn, not enough years for me. I have one. So moving on to this one, like I said, we had King Sheamus here, and then we go back to 2015. So you can see once again, there's a big gap. We didn't get a tournament in 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2014. We didn't get another King of the Ring tournament until 2015, which was a 2-day event. There were matches on Raw and there were matches on the WWE Network. At the end of this tournament, we end up getting Bad News Barrett. Looking back at this made absolutely no sense at the time because you kind of sit there and wondering to yourself what was going on through his mind, when he's going to use his gimmick to his advantage, and what was going to be next. This did absolutely nothing for his career at all, but just solidify himself as one of the guys there to hold the King of the Ring crown. After this, he stood here for a little while longer with WWE, eventually asking for his release and receiving it, and then going on to do TV movies. Maybe he did a couple of indie events. And then later on now, he is the broadcast announcer for NXT for God knows how long that's going to happen. Once again, WWE being inconsistent, did not give us a tournament in 2016, 17, and 18. We end up getting King of the Ring back again in 2019. That's a 4-year gap, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I have no idea what's going on with WWE and their 4-year gaps. If worse comes to worse with this new tournament that we're getting, we're going to end up getting another 4-year hiatus before we even get another tournament at all. But in 2019, we end up getting the man they call King Corbin. Sorry about that. I'm a little tongue-tied here. To me, I think the King Corbin gimmick was something that was great for him. It elevated his character. It made him even a bigger heel. he's donning a new gimmick now with Happy Corbin. I am not really feeling this one. It still hasn't grown on to me. And then just the way he lost the crown in general was something that I was just like a little puzzled by it, because he ended up losing it to this man, Nakamura. With there was no actual tournament at all. They just had a match for the crown. Nakamura won, and he ended up becoming King Nakamura until this present day last week, when he gave up his crown to the new tournament that they have going on, which is the new King of the Ring tournament that is going on right now in our present time. And if you look at the competitors that we have here, we already had a couple of matches. We had Rey Mysterio versus Sami Zayn, with Sami Zayn moving on. We had Cesaro versus Finn Balor, with Finn Balor moving on. And then we had Kofi Kingston versus Jinder Mahal, with Jinder Mahal moving on, which is still a little puzzling to me. I want to get your opinions in the chat, and just wondering, what do you guys think of the right side of the bracket? Because now we have Xavier Woods and Ricochet, who had an impressive match, but with Xavier Woods getting the win and moving on. Looking in the chats here, you got Sami Zayn wins. Cap says, if Jinder doesn't win, we riot. I am not a big fan of Jinder Mahal. He is fighting against Xavier Woods. I am a big New Day fan, and I'm really hoping that Xavier Woods wins this whole thing. I think he deserves it. Out of the three people from the New Day, he's the only one that hasn't done anything really. You have Kofi Kingston, who became champion. Going back here, and that is the end of that one. I'm going to go here. So Kofi Kingston ended up being, WWE champion. Now you have Big E as champion as well. So now you're kind of wondering, like, what is Xavier Woods going to do? Is Xavier Woods going to win King of the Ring? He has been very vocal about this, letting us know that he wants to he wants to win King of the Ring. He was made for this. This is something that he's been thinking about for the longest. I got some more opinions here. Pro Wrestling says, after you went through all those great King of the Rings from the 90s and the early 2000s, this one doesn't look like an appealing to me. Way up, because we had so many great King of the Ring winners, and I want to go over just like, where do you land a lot of these guys that won King of the Ring in your top five? I know one of my top five is definitely Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'll leave him at number one. Owen Hart, I'll leave him at a good number two. Brett, I'm gonna leave him at 3. Edge at 4, and I'm gonna give Kurt Angle number 5 on that one. Honorable mentions for me will have to be King Booker, of course. He's like my only honorable mention. I wouldn't honor like a Don Morocco or Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar just ran through this tournament. He really didn't even look at this too well. Tyson saying, spoiler alert, Sammy didn't advance. Let's go here. And Xavier Woods, King. Of course, we want to see Xavier Woods win this tournament. What do you guys think of the history of King of the Ring? How would you book King of the Ring? Would you leave it as a 16-man tournament, or would you do it 8? Would you even go up to the 32? Pro Wrestling Podcast is saying that Kurt Angle is number 1 in his book. Kurt Angle definitely is somebody that took the King of the Ring and made it his own. Crown Jewel tells me Jinder is winning. That came from Charles Andrews. I don't know if Jinder wins, I don't know what will happen with Xavier Woods, or how would you use this to his advantage for Jinder Mahal. So Charles, if Jinder Mahal wins, how would he use this to his advantage to elevate his career? He was already a part of 3MB. He left, comes back, phenomenal shape, ends up winning the WWE Championship in a surprising win against Randy Orton. Had a good run as WWE Champion, and now he is, to me, I feel maybe going backwards and going back to a mid-card type guy. And And Charles Andrews once again is sitting here saying anywhere else Jinder doesn't win. That's kind of true, but I think this time around they're not going to let him win this tournament. We still have more to go. But remember this, we still have to have a match on Friday to see who is going to win, who's going to move on to Crown Jewel to fight for the King of the Ring tournament. Pro Wrestling Podcast saying blood money. Of course, it is money in the sand. Everybody calls it Crown Jewel, but a lot of us just call it money in the sand. The Knucklehead Podcast is sitting here saying 32-man battle royal for the last 15 competitors to go on to the bracket system. 15-man tournament. Winner gets a bye. That sounds pretty cool, but how long are we going to actually keep this match going and keep this tournament going with 15 guys, especially with the way WWE is now? Do they even have 32 guys that's going to sit there and become King of the Ring and not fuck this up? I want to hear from you. Tyson says, let's bring it back to the tradition. 16-man tournament winner becomes King of the Ring and gets the title shot at the world champion of his choice. Now that right there, my friends, is a good idea, because you becoming King of the Ring back then, they didn't give you any stipulations as to what you would win if you became King of the Ring. The only thing you was getting was just a crown and a scepter, and you were going to be named King of the Ring, but there was no other incentives in that, like a title shot or or maybe like a last entry into the Royal Rumble. Charles Andrews coming back saying, I think Woods Snap should win. We're going back here in the first round. One night special going in from the Knuckleheads. Just wrapping up here. I want to know, so who do you think? So we have one person going for Jinder Mahal right now. I'm going for Xavier Woods. I know Ashley Superfan is going for Xavier Woods as well. Who are you guys going with for this new King of the Ring tournament? Before we wrap things up here, there is no Dynamite tonight, which I'm so surprised. I'm don't know what to do with myself. Probably gonna just go to bed early before I gotta go to work, take a little nap, and edit the rest of this out. But if that's all that we have to say for right now, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this time of King of the Ring. Everybody's rooting for Xavier Woods, of course. Thank you so much for sitting here with me for the last 42 minutes talking about King of the Ring. Let's hope that Xavier Woods wins. Guys, until next time.